Hi, and welcome to Vision WT training. This module is called the draft trap. What we're going to go through and have a look at is we're going to look at the situation and the problems that you can have when you're editing. And the biggest issue that we've found when editing is the situation of left drafts that are hanging around in the system. Now, a draft is an edited item that you can either store intentionally, or what generally happens if your browser crashes or if you hit backspace when you're editing an item, a draft is left. And drafts can be found and can be seen by clicking onto My Account, and you'll then be able to see any drafts that you have in your system. But what we're going to do first of all is we're going to see what the problem is. What is this problem with draft traps? Okay. Imagine you're editing a piece of content. You've got to get it out, it's got to be out quickly, you've got a content management system of course, and so deadlines are generally short. So we edit this latest updates. We click on edit, and suddenly, possible conflict error. Something's gone wrong here. And we've got this user called test user who's modified this draft version 11 and left it there. Now, there's a draft version here, so this person has actually left some content, and whenever you edit an article or a folder, it creates a draft, and that draft, there's no way of removing it unless you go to My Account and remove it. So this person's either left an account unintentionally or left a draft intentionally. We don't know, we have no way of knowing. So we've got no way of getting around this apart from going, I'm going to create a new draft, and I'm going to edit this selected, and then I'm going to take mine and I'm going to say Tony important updates must be up on the site. Okay, so I've now taken my really important updates that must be on the site and I've sent them for publishing. Now this is great. I've entered the information in here. I then click on my latest updates, and I can then see that my important updates must be on the site. Now this is fine, everything's gone okay. The problem comes when the user, the test user, who logs into the system, so let's do that, let's log out here, and let's log in as test, comes into the system, maybe they're in a different time zone, and they say, I want to come into the system, I want to make my changes. I left it last night, I left a draft there, and I come into latest updates. I may not look at it, I may not see that there's this tiny important updates and it must be on the site. I then come in, I hit edit, and of course I see this possible edit conflict. But I go, hey, this was my change, that's my draft that I left there. I've not got a problem with that, so I come in and I edit the selected. And as you can see, it's got my extra text in here from the test user. So I can then carry on here, and then I can do finished. I'm completely oblivious to any other edits that may have been made on the site, unless I checked. And if I'm not in the business of checking what's going on, then I'm not going to know. I then click on updates, and suddenly then the site now has from test user finished. So now you've got a situation where both users were doing their jobs, but the important updates that I as an administrative user wanted to put on the site are now completely disappeared. And I've got no way of knowing, I'm going to have no memo unless I've got notifications to say that change is made. So the problem with drafts can be that you can have content removed, and we'll go into it a little bit later when you have different languages. It can actually be even more complicated. So the big rule of thumb here is if you have drafts in your system, so let's go in and let's have a look and see if I've got any drafts in here. I don't have any drafts, so let's create one. So if I were to go in and I edit an article and I then hit back, I've now created a draft, and there you can see latest update. Whenever you finish editing, go in, check, obviously if you've saved a draft because you want to work on it, then make sure you don't remove it. But generally there's other methods of doing that, such as hiding a document from the front end so you can get to it later. Go in, click on My Account, and then click on Remove All and get rid of those drafts. Also, another issue is if you ever see a possible edit conflict, pick up the phone, talk to the person. It will be a quick training exercise. Once they realise that all they need to do is go in and move their drafts at the end of their editing session, they'll know the information is there. Otherwise, what you're going to do is it's going to be a whole heap of pain, and you're going to have drafts that are going to be left over the system. And any of these editors could come in, edit those drafts, and you will lose your content. Now, in this scenario, it was just a really small piece of content. But I'll show you in another training session how when you're using it with multiple languages, you can lose every other language that you've entered. It's just horrific, and so it's just a massive draft trap. So from my point of view, I know there's some fixes out there that are being applied, that are going to be coming through, and they're not in the Easy Publish product yet, even in the latest versions, but they are on the PubSVN. So I'd really, if you're going to be creating a site, or if you're an editor, say, look, I don't want to get into this trap. I really need to make sure that unintentional drafts are not created in the system and they're not left there. That's great. I really hope this has helped.